After you set up your preferences, the next thing I really want to bring to your attention is the workspace here we have in InDesign. If you're familiar with the other Adobe products like Illustrator or Photoshop, it might not be that unfamiliar to you. Likewise, if you've ever worked with Quark, there are some similar tools, but the basic workspace is very similar to any of the Adobe products. We have the tools here, we have our panels here, we have the top dock, and these are all three aspects of InDesign. They're going to help you with your projects, obviously. The tools obviously affect any of your objects, your typography. Your panels here on the right are going to give you all of the nuances that you need to create the work. And the top dock here is also kind of the finessing of all of the elements. And that top dock will change depending on what tool you're using. If I switch to a type tool here, you can see my type options come up, and then I have here to expand, I have A for character and my paragraph functionings here. If I go to the line tool, I can see there's some measurement aspects here. Likewise for the pen and the pencil. My frame tool, they're not going to change too often. But all of those, that top dock will change depending on what tool you're using. This is how I have my workspace set up. If you don't right now, make sure that you go to your window workspace and then make sure that it's just set to essentials. So here is essentials. So this is really going to give you everything that you need to complete most of the projects except the banner ad exercise. So you have your pages, your layers, your links, colors, stroke, color, swatches, character, and paragraph styles, align, and pathfinder. If you don't have any of those windows or some of them are missing, you can choose any of the additional windows here. Just bring up the ones that you want. These are the ones that I think that we're going to use the most. One thing that might be useful, no, I think we have all of them here, so I think we're good. So just make sure that you have pages, layers, pages, layers, links, color, and swatch, character, paragraph, etc. And these can, obviously we can click on these, we can delete them if I want, I can move them around. That blue highlight means that I'm going to now attach it. You can switch them around, you can move this over, you can do anything you want to it. You can expand it to see within each what in each panel is, or you can expand it just by clicking on them, or you can have them permanently expanded. I think that takes up too much space, so I don't do that. I'm obviously working on a small laptop right now, so your desktop might look a little bit different than mine. You might have your, there's a thing. I close down tools, so if I want to get back, just go to tools. I can have it any orientation I want. I'm kind of old school. This is how I used to see it when I was first doing design work. Now I like to keep it long. You can also move your dock down to the bottom if you think that just works better for you. It's up to you how you want to arrange your workspace. But I just want to make sure that we at least have these panels that we can find in the essential workspace. So when you're working with InDesign, do that again. There's going to be some differences between Photoshop and Illustrator, and because we are creating this has the potential to create multi-page documents, books, brochures, folded posters, very complex documents, different page sizes, interactive books, interactive PDFs. So there's a lot of performance here that InDesign holds, and so some of it might be confusing at first. The fact that we have to create pages, that we have to use text boxes as opposed to just in Illustrator we can just type on the keyboard and text appears. So there's a few little things that we need to get wrap our head around in order to work with InDesign. So we talked about preferences, and now we're going to talk about pages versus master pages. So first, let's just set up a page, and in this case we're going to be designing a perfume ad for the company Chanel. So we're going to go File, New, Document, and when we bring up this window, there's a few things that we need to pay attention to here. Obviously you can change the number of pages you want to use. It's infinite. I think maybe it's even 1,000. I've never gone over, so you could choose 1,000 pages, and I'm not going to do that because it might take too long to generate. But if I write in 50 and press OK, might take a second, but if I go into my pages panel here, I can see that I've actually created 50 pages. You know, we don't want to do that for this project, so I'm just going to close that window, go Command or Control W for window. But I do want to go, let's go File, New again. I want to create a one-page document in this case. So because it's just one page, I need to uncheck this facing pages. And what facing pages mean, literally, if we think about pages that face each other in a book, that's literally what it is. So if you open a book and there are two pages and one in each hand, one side of the book and the other, those two pages are facing pages. And so a facing page is just a book format, but we don't want to create a book format. We just want to create an ad, so a perfume ad in this case. So I'm going to check unfacing pages, and we're going to keep it 8.5 by 11 or letter size. There's some preset page sizes in there. The orientation you can change to portrait or horizontal. And then you can use it to create margins. Say the publisher that you're working with has some set margins saying that you must have all of the artwork, say, within 1/4 of an inch from the inside of the edge of the artwork. And if I press this make all settings the same, it will link all of that, whatever I type in there. If I change it to 3 inches, it will change it universally. So I want to keep it back to 1/4 of an inch. Remember I said it in the first video that InDesign will do math for you. So for instance, if I knew that the publisher gave me, they said I want it 1/4 of an inch margins all around, but I'm working in centimeters. If I, or say they tell me centimeters and I only have I've set up my preferences in inches, and they say, well, it has to be 2 centimeters. So if I press in 2 centimeters here, InDesign will do the math for you, and it will change it to inches because I've set inches up as my preference for units. If say if I don't know, if I'm just using a measuring or a ruler and I'm measuring the margins that I need, and I say I want 1/8 of an inch, you can literally type in 1/8 and quotation marks for inch, and InDesign will do the math for you. It will convert it into a fraction or a decimal point. If I click on this bleeds and slugs, we're going to always be using bleeds, or using or not using bleeds. Now, this is a common area of confusion for a lot of young designers. Bleeds are, if you look at any kind of printed material, there's 2 ways that things are printed. They're either printed without bleeds or with bleeds. And bleeds literally mean when an image or any type of information from that printed document bleeds off the edge of the page. And when it does that, it's actually printed differently. The printer needs to print the image over a certain area and then cut the page or cut the paper to create that. Otherwise, when you're not using bleeds, the industry standard is to have at least 1/8 of an inch border around the page edge. It could be more, it could be 1/4 of an inch, but the industry standard is to keep everything within 1/8 of an inch. So in this case, we can use bleeds if we want, because we are the designers and we don't have a real client, so we can say, yeah, I'm going to use bleeds. So if I set up bleeds here, if you don't have bleeds, you want to keep it at least 1/8 of an inch with on the inside of the page. With bleeds, you must have it at least 1/8 of an inch on the outside of the page. And if I don't know what 1/8 of an inch is in decimal form, I can just put 1/8 quotation mark, and it will switch. It will convert it into 0.125 inches, and that's what I need for my bleeds. So if I press OK in this case, and InDesign will generate my document. Here we go. If I just hide it here. So I've created a horizontal or landscape page, and I can, if I zoom in by clicking on my zoom tool here and just zooming into one of the corner, and I can see here this red line is my bleed line. So that everything that bleeds off the page must be extended to that line, and I can see this margin line, this purple line, and I believe it was also 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to zoom out to see my entire workspace by pressing Command or Control 0, and I've done something here that I don't like. I've created one page, but I created a horizontal page, and so I want a vertical page. So I'm going to go back, not recreate the entire page again, but I'm going to go back into my document file, document setup, and this is where I can pretty much change anything that we did in the previous panel and just change it, whatever. If I want to change the bleeds, I want to change the orientation to horizontal, and I can preview it if I want. Now, it doesn't allow me to change my margins in that panel, so if I do want to change my margins, I have to go to Layout and Margins, and I can change them again. I can preview, check preview, and I can just click away, and you can see that those margins are changed when I change them. Press OK. Lastly, I just want to show you that the difference between a page and a master page. So what we see in this page panel, there's kind of a split window. The lower half of it is your pages, and now these is your actual artwork. So when I press on create new page at the bottom here, I'm actually creating pages. I'm just going to zoom out by using my zoom tool and option zoom out, or I can press spacebar command option to zoom out, or just spacebar command option. Nope, I'm in already my zoom tool, so it's going to just do it to me. Zoom in using my zoom tool. Now I've created 6 pages here, and these are command 0 again to zoom out to one page. Now these are actual artwork pages, as opposed to the top of the split window here, master pages. Now if I double click on the master pages and zoom out by pressing option with my zoom tool, you can see that there's only one master page here. So anything that happens on your master page is going to happen on your wherever the instance of that master page is. So for instance, if I double click on my master page and draw anything, I take the pen tool, well, let's actually just create a shape. I'm going to use my rectangle tool here. I'm just going to make sure that it's colored, so I'm going to click on, make sure it's on the fill, and I'm just going to use a cyan, and I'm just going to draw a shape there. And then you can, if I go back to my actual pages, you can see every time I've used that page, whatever I've created on my master page is on that page. I'll update it, I'll create another little image here, or a little box here, and I will color it green, another one, and color it pink. And now if I go back to my pages, you can see that it's updated. Every time I've used that master, it's updated it to whatever I've added to that master. You can create as many masters as you want by going down to, fly down here, new master, and I can say master B, that's just the default, and I can double click on that. I can say add some text by using the type tool, drag for a text box and just type, and it will just I'm going to highlight the entire thing, just make it a little bit bigger so we can see it really easily. Now you can see, because it's a different master, it hasn't affected my master A. Every instance I've used master A, it's not affected. But if I want to now add master B to my actual pages, I can just click on it, press the bottom here, new, and you'll see, nope, sorry, that was new master. I want to click on my, within my panel here, and my page, and click new. No, it's still doing that. That's not what I need to do, sorry. I'm just going to, the other way to do it is just drag a new master here, and I can see now I've dragged a new master B into my actual artwork pages. I can also do that another right away if I've already clicked on, I've already have selected a master B and I just start adding pages here at the bottom. It will just by default add the last master used. If for whatever reasons I've used a master B, say for page 9, and I actually want to use a master A, I can just drag and click on it and overlay it onto that page. I can reverse that, And if I just want a blank page, I can just use the none. So you can see all of those instances. Now, masters are used for any type of information that you're going to use over and over and over again. It's not just for text, it's not just for drawings, it's for information that you don't want to change, because you see in my actual pages, if I use my selection tool, it is locked. Now that is the point of masters. You don't want to start creating things on your master pages and then messing it up by clicking on any of those things on the actual pages and moving them. So everything that you in your masters is going to be locked on your actual pages. So masters are used for page numbers. Maybe in a book you might have the title of the chapter at the bottom. You might use it for anything that you use over and over and over again. There might be some instances where you use an image over and over again. It's definitely where you're going to set up your guides, and I'll show you that in a later video. But it's anything that you're going to be using over and over and over again. For our exercise, our perfume ad, we actually won't be using masters, but I just wanted to show you the difference between a master page and an actual page. So for a perfume ad, I'm just going to click on page 2 and just scroll down and press shift and click on the last page and delete, because we only need one page. We actually don't need 2 masters, so just going to click and delete that as well, and go back to double click on my actual master page, drag and select by using my select tool, and just delete all of that and go back to my actual page. And I don't want anything. That's all we want for to explain the difference between masters and master pages. Sorry, master pages and regular artwork pages.